Don't pour knowledge down a leaky brain. Do you spend hours learning only to forget and relearn the same things over and over again? It's slow, it's frustrating, and most of the information just doesn't stick. But why? In this video, you'll learn how your brain actually processes information and how to seal the leaks by unlocking your brain's natural learning system, so you learn faster than ever and nothing ever goes to waste again. I've used these methods to learn from hundreds of books, summaries, and even build my business reading graphics. Do stick around until the end, as we'll be sharing practical examples of how to apply these insights to your life. But first, let's talk about why learning feels so challenging in the first place. When you first learn something, it might seem clear at first, but a few days later, when you actually need the information, it's like hitting the reset button and everything goes fuzzy again, or you simply cannot remember. Rest assured, it's not because you're a bad learner. Most of us were taught to learn the wrong way: rereading, memorizing, cramming. But studies show that those methods simply don't work. We were also taught all kinds of wrong beliefs about learning, which we explain in this other video. Worse still, a lot of so-called online study hacks just reinforce the same ineffective habits. To avoid wasting time, you need to seal those gaps that cause knowledge to leak away and use methods that actually work with your brain, not against it. This requires us to understand how the brain actually learns. Now, the brain has two main memory systems: short-term and long-term. Short-term memory is fragile, and the memory automatically fades away if you don't process it further, which is why you can remember a phone number long enough to dial it, but you forget it moments after. This is also why our brain often feels like a leaky bucket. We pour information into the brain, but no matter how many times you do it, it flows out just as quickly. The solution? We must also engage the long-term memory, which is built to last. The secret to great learning is to use 3 steps to transfer knowledge from your short-term memory to your long-term memory, and to lock them in. This video for my business reading graphics explains how it all works. Encoding happens the moment your brain absorbs new information. But here's the problem. Your brain doesn't store everything. It selectively chooses what seems important and holds it in the short-term memory, which is like a temporary notepad. If you don't reinforce it, most of the information disappears quickly. Most people rely on rereading, highlighting, or passive listening to encode new learning. But these methods don't work. Instead, it's more effective to summarize what you've just learned in your own words, create mental images or flowcharts to see the connections, or linking new ideas to what you already know. Let's say you are learning how the stock market works. Instead of rereading an article, try explaining the ideas in your own words, sketching a diagram, or relating it to something familiar, like comparing investing to planting seeds for long-term growth. Step 2. Consolidation. Once information is encoded, your brain needs to reinforce and store it in the long-term memory. This process is called consolidation. The problem? Most people try to revise or cram everything into one session. This doesn't work at all for consolidating information. Instead, use spaced repetition to spread out your learning over time. Each time you revisit a concept, you strengthen those memory pathways. Rest in between learning sessions because your brain solidifies learning while you sleep. And link new information to what you already know. The more links you create, the more durable your memory. For example, if you are learning a new language, don't just memorize the vocab or grammar rules. Use it in real conversations to truly consolidate what you've learned. Step 3. Retrieval. Retrieval is the final and most important step. It's what separates temporary learning from permanent knowledge. Every time you retrieve and apply information, you strengthen your brain's neural pathways, making knowledge more accessible when you need it. Let's think back on our leaky brain situation. Encoding is like pouring water in, only to have everything leak out again just as quickly. Consolidation is like sealing the holes and transferring the water to a larger tank. Retrieval is how you draw from that reservoir, but if you don't keep drawing and refilling the water in the reservoir, it stagnates and becomes inaccessible. Can you see how skipping any of these steps can mean wasted effort and the need to relearn what you've already learned? Thankfully, there are great techniques to enhance this process. So you can seal the bucket, transfer and retrieve the knowledge, making every drop of effort count. Now, you might be thinking, even if we use these methods, how long will it actually take to learn something new? Many people speak of the 10,000 hour rule, as if it's set in stone. But in reality, it's just a benchmark for mastering a skill or a subject, like becoming a Michelin star chef or a famous musician. Those are great aspirations, but in most cases, you don't need that much time to start using what you've learned. Josh Kaufman even proved that you can get competent in a new skill in just 20 hours. How is that even possible? Because the secret to learning fast isn't time, but technique. If you learn more in the first attempt, forget less and save time relearning, and start using the knowledge in real life faster, you'll find your learning efforts giving you much better results. So now, let's dig into 5 learning techniques that the world's best learners use to tap into your brain's natural processes. You've probably seen a lot of learning tips online, but how many of them actually worked for you? After reading and summarizing hundreds of books in my business reading graphics, I've narrowed down to 5 proven techniques that actually support your brain's natural processes. Let's look at a recent reading graphics explainer on this. The first method is the Feynman technique, which means putting yourself in the role of a teacher explaining a concept. This works because if you can't explain something in simple terms, you don't fully understand it. So, after learning a concept, try explaining it aloud as if to a 5-year-old. You'll instantly spot some gaps. And once you do, go back and refine your understanding until you can explain it more clearly and confidently. Another powerful technique is chunking instead of stuffing your brain with random data, because this helps your brain to form stronger links between concepts, making it easier to remember everything from new vocabulary to complex systems. You will also end up freeing up more room for other things you want to learn. Hack number 3, spaced repetition. Spaced repetition is one of the most effective ways to make learning stick. Instead of cramming everything into one session, where you forget most of the information, review the material over several days, starting after 1 day, then 3, then 7. This forces your brain to re-encode the information every time you review it, strengthening its memory pathways. And to make it even more effective, switch up how you apply what you've learned. For example, if you are learning dance, don't just repeat one routine. Mix in different styles to challenge your brain in new ways. Next are mental models. These are like shortcuts or express ways your brain builds to process information faster. For example, mind mapping visually organizes information, making it easier to spot patterns and grasp complex ideas. The more mental models you build, the faster and smarter you think. Finally, we have active recall. Don't just reread. Test yourself. Close your notes. Write down what you remember, or say it aloud before checking the answer. The more you retrieve the information, the stronger those memory pathways become. Each of these 5 techniques supports a different phase of how the brain learns. When you use them together, you are sealing the leaks and unlocking the full power of your brain. Now, let's see how they work in real life. Let's say you're working full-time and pursuing a postgraduate degree. You can make the most of your precious time by applying all 5 techniques. Don't just reread your notes or slides. Try retrieval practice by pausing and recalling the key points from memory first without referring to your notes. Space out your reviews over time to keep the old materials fresh while adding new layers of understanding. Break down dense readings into sections using chunking, then use mental models to connect and apply the ideas. Test your understanding using the Feynman technique by explaining the ideas out loud to a classmate or even to your phone. If it feels hard, then congrats, you're actually learning. Now let's say you're learning a new software at work. Don't just watch tutorials on repeat. Chunk the features into categories, then focus on what's the most relevant for your day-to-day use. Use a mind map to connect how each feature relates to your workflow, which strengthens your mental model, and again, teach it to someone on your team. And that's the Feynman technique again. Practice using the software daily with breaks in between, that's spaced repetition, and every time you get stuck, try recalling what you've learned without looking it up, which is active recall. When you take all of these steps, you're not just learning passively anymore. You're applying the 3-step process to use and retain information in a way that's faster and much more effective. So, stop wasting time on methods that don't work. The easiest and fastest way to learn is to align with how your brain learns naturally. And use these tools to learn smarter, not harder. If 5 techniques seem like too much, then here's a quick challenge. Pick just one out of these 5 techniques and and apply it to something that you're learning this week. Want to use chunking to understand postgraduate concepts? Or even to remember a cooking recipe without referring to it? Then go for it. If you want to dive deeper, check out our full breakdown in the Reading Graphics article, link below, and don't miss out the other useful resources there. And if you're still not sure whether you can learn something new, check out this other video where we bust some common myths that might be holding you back. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video and let's keep growing together.